German classes in high school, so I still have a little bit of that reflex. But okay, well, I guess Gabe is going to make a quick announcement, and then we're going to roll.
Perfect. I clicked the button, so everyone is now watching. The streams are starting. If you could please share it to your friends. This is going to be awesome. This is the Reinventing the Tattoo podcast with Tommy Lee Wendtner being interviewed by Guy Aitchison. It's going to be pretty awesome. Tommy's beaming in from Europe and is it's going to be wicked fun. The last interview that Guy did in the series was with Hanumantra, and you could find all of these on the YouTubes. Just do searches for Reinventing the Tattoo. Let's see what else we have coming up. Upcoming events is, let's see, we have later today, Russ Abbott is going to be beaming in with Reinventing Tattoo Design, featuring Russ, and he's going to be bringing in a couple other special guests, Damon and Brad Wooten, and Guy will be hosting that also. Wednesday, which is tomorrow,
that one is going to be really worth tuning into, because when Russ was showing me this, some of this stuff yesterday, my jaw literally dropped. And, you know, I like to think that I know what's available in tattooing right now, but he's got some tools that are 22nd century. This stuff is amazing.
Yeah, it was wicked sight to see the preview too. So let's see what else we have. On Wednesday, we have Tales in the Castro with Haley Adams and Jess co-hosting. They're straight from San Francisco. We also have Tattoo Collecting Podcast is on Thursdays at noon, every Thursday at noon. Tattoo Collecting Podcast. Sunday the 20th, Nick Baxter is doing a painting art jam, landscapes, I imagine. Then we have bio events planned. So many things going on. It's out of control. Reinventingthetattoo.com. There's a mobile app in the Apple Store. It'll be on the Google Play Store soon. Okay, a couple quick announcements about sponsors. Inkjet Stencils, inkjetstencils.com. They you do all your prep work on the computer, and it actually will print out the stencil from the inkjet printer. It requires a printer with a continuous ink, which is also eco-friendly. You're not wasting all that packaging. Yes, inkjetstencils.com. Check them out, and they're awesome. Cheyenne Tattoo Machines. We still have a machine that is up for a giveaway. If you go to tattooeducation.com/giveaway, then you can fill out the form. You have to be a tattooer. You have to fill out all the information. And even if you're already vetted on the Tattoo Education form, fill it out again so that we know that you're entering to win the Cheyenne machine. It's a full, I think it's a Solterra with a grip. It's like over $700-800. It's awesome. And then, of course, and we're starting to remember, please subscribe to Reinventing the Tattoo. It's Guy Aitchison's master canon and curriculum. It covers all the aspects of tattooing. There's hours of videos, like not even normal videos. Like Guy has infographics in the corner. He explains what he's doing. It's I think it's $1.99 for a year. It's going to end up going up, so get it before it goes up. Okay, I think that my job is done. I'm going to check to make sure everything is actually streaming, and then turn my. Yeah, looks like we've got it going out on the YouTubes. So last minute to share, if in the chat rooms, please let us know where you're beaming in from, how you found out about the streams, and I will just beam back in with some quote. When people are in the chat room or whatever, I might pop in once in a while.
Okay. Well, hey, thank you, Gabe, and thank you, Inkjet Stencils in Cheyenne. I am a Cheyenne user myself. I've done, for my last 2-3 years, I've been tattooing with a Sol Nova, which is a killer machine. It's been utterly predictable every single time. Although lately they've been sending me some other machines to work with, including their cordless, which is wonderful. It's very much like the Sol Nova, but obviously feels different because you don't have that cord. And I'm also working with a prototype that's almost ready for release right now that they've asked me not to say too much about, but it's pretty exciting. So anyway, inkjet stencils. This is the next step, right? Not having to use the rickety old thermocopier technology. So they're actually developing large scale, like full back piece printers as we speak. All right. Well, hey, Tommy, psyched to have you here.
I'm super excited and honored.
I first met Tommy Lee Wendtner at one of the Paradise events, and this must have been 15, 17 years ago or something like that. And he was already doing some pretty interesting stuff.
I think it was 2008 maybe.
Okay, yeah,
I think
that sounds about right.
2008 was the first one, yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a while back, but yeah, you were already your distinctive style was already recognized.
Sorry.
It was building. Yeah.
To fact check that, the first Paradise Gathering was 2008. The first one guy that you attended was 2009.
Okay.
Then it was 2009.
So this is 11 years ago.
Yeah. Holy fuck.
Yeah. And since then, you've really dug into the European black and gray kind of dark end of tattooing, that scene, and really made a unique place for yourself there. So I wanted to talk with you about the whole arc, because this is something I think is really interesting to other artists, especially up and coming artists. Where you got your start, your influences, your apprenticeship. I love hearing those stories. And, there's always a little bit of a Wild West factor. I mean, still people in apprenticeships these days, there's often a little bit of that. And then about where you're going next with your art. But if you don't mind, I'd like to start with just the absolute basics. If you could just tell me how long you've been tattooing, and if you could let the people who are listening know where they can find you now on Instagram and other places on the web.
Yeah. The first time I tattooed was like 1992. That was just like trying it out, and continuously I'm tattooing since 1997, I think. Yeah. You can find my Instagram, Tommy Lee Wendtner. Easy as that. And that's the basic thing. The story how I got to tattooing is a very long and winded road.
Well, let's hear about it.
Yeah. So when I was young, around around 14, 15 years old, I was very involved in the rockabilly scene, and tattooing was always like a factor there. And I started like doing designs for other people to get tattooed. And later on, it just said like, "Hey, dude, why don't you tattoo by yourself?" And then I said, yeah, wouldn't be a bad idea. Then I had a tattoo artist in that scene, which like showed me a little bit, and I started tattooing a few people. Then later on, I never had really an apprenticeship and I'm actually self-taught, but I had a lot of help along. In the beginning, it was like Klaus Foreman. I was there for a while. And then later on, I
actually working in his studio.
Yeah, in Vienna back then, like in the 90s, for a while. But then I was all over the place. So I wanted to, do that and too much. Then I did it all by myself, more or less, and it helped from like influential tattoo artists, which saw that I have potential. So I'm not really traditionally apprenticed, which
that's true about a lot of really good artists in this tattoo community. We always encourage people to seek out an apprenticeship.
It is important, actually. Yeah.
It often ends up being a much, like you were saying, more complicated road than that. But it's important that you did connect with established artists early in your career. I mean, Klaus, he's obviously someone who back then was a very major figure in the Austrian tattoo world. And I always really enjoyed seeing him at conventions, but I don't think he's been traveling to America much. I haven't going to conventions much. Obviously, none of us are right now. But I mean, you kind of went straight to one of the more established people and learned what you could from them. So, I mean, that's important. The apprenticeship is important, but it's not always available. I
mean, I was really lucky with that, and I always say like, okay, because when people ask me, they say like, yeah, you did the apprentice and all that, blah, blah, blah. I say, yeah, I didn't, but I was really, really lucky that I still found my way, because an apprenticeship is more about learning the art of tattooing. It's about like learning respect, learning responsibility, all that stuff. And that took me a while. And also you learn a lot of things wrong that you have to relearn later on.
Yes, and that is one of the challenges of apprenticeships is there's no such thing as a perfect apprenticeship, right?
No.
You know, I had a fairly traditional apprenticeship. You know, I worked for 2 years with this guy, Bob Oslin in Chicago. And the first 3 months of that was really the only part of it that was an apprenticeship. After that, I was a workhorse. But
Okay.
Bob had problems, you know, he was a great guy, and I'm glad to have learned from him. But, you know, he had a substance abuse problem, and
Okay.
really he just wanted me functional as quickly as possible so that he could show up at the shop, collect money, and disappear.
Yeah. Also
so-
not that uncommon, actually. That story.
Right. So his motivation for wanting to teach me might have been coming from that place, but nonetheless, he was motivated to get me functional as quickly as possible and held nothing back. And I'm grateful for that. But yeah, when you're learning it on your own, you can kind of, I mean, as long as you know how to talk to tattoo artists, you know what I mean? You can kind of get out there and learn what you can. I know that there's a lot of prominent artists out there who that's what they did. They just went out there and they made connections, got tattooed by people they respect, and you know, really dug into the learning process.
Yeah, it was really weird, man. Back then, and you remember, like back then in like early 90s and stuff and mid 90s, it was really hard for an outsider to get into that.
Yes.
There were like really different rules, as you know. It was all about, okay, you have to break into that thing and you have to earn your respect. And then you might get a little help if you're lucky. And I was just really lucky. I have always to say that I was just goddamn lucky. I had so much luck. You know, it was like kind of served on a golden platter, everything. And but there was a huge problem because I started to take that as, yeah, that's how it is, you know. So I developed very early on, when I didn't have a name, I got a real ego problem, like a huge ego problem, because I was thinking like, yeah, I'm the shit, I'm the best, and like, no, but I wasn't. And there was like a period where I really had to turn that around, because I saw if I continued doing that, I will end up with just enemies and no way that I can establish my art. So, but it worked out.
I think that a lot of artists go through that. I mean, I feel like I went through that a little bit too, because, you know, you probably had a similar experience as a teenager. I was very awkward, and definitely anytime I tried to put on cool, I failed spectacularly. You know what I mean?
Very early on, yes. It was weird. Yeah.
And so then there you are doing some pretty good tattoos, and people are telling you're great. And you're coming straight from being this awkward, you know, nerdy, whatever. And suddenly you've got this little rock star thing going on, and you're in your early 20s. It's pretty hard to not let that go to your head, right? At that age, especially.
Yeah, because you're young. I mean, when you think about it, the frontal cortex isn't like fully developed until you're 25. So
this is true. This is true. And I also think that, you know, when we're in our late adolescence like that, it's just utterly natural to seek this sort of fame and dominance, and you know what I mean. It's very much a primate reaction to being that age, and
which is not all negative. That's the thing. It's like, it's not all negative. It's just you have to be very careful how to use it, you know. And when you're so young, you mostly tend to, you know, get over your head. And then it's very important that you have people around you that like bring you down a little bit.
Yes. And actually, I did have, when I was early on in that scene and getting all that, you know, support to my ego, I had a few artists, and I'm very grateful for this, because it felt weird at the time. But, you know, take me aside and say, hey, you know, the way you just talked in front of Ed Hardy, you sounded like a dick, you know? Yeah. And then I'd have to think about it to the point where I'd be fucking cringing. But it's so important to recognize those things and to you know, to feel a little bit appalled about it and to try to grow and find that humility. So, you know, if I could be my early 20s self again, I'd still want to feel good about my accomplishments.
Yes.
But I would try to develop a little earlier that reflex of, at least,
but on the other hand, guys,
trying to sound humble, you know, like, thank you, I really appreciate your compliments, you know, like, yeah, well, naturally, it's me, yeah, I'm fucking great.
But the thing is, what I just said is like, it's always like, if I could go back, yeah, you can speculate, you can talk about it now and stuff, but I think it's very important that everything you did in your life brought you to the point you're right now. So if you would change anything, you wouldn't be you right now.
You're right. It's true. It's true. It's the butterfly.
That's the weird thing, you know.
So yeah. So of course, that stage of your life was a big part of your development too. And I mean, by the time I met you, you were already a very humble, you know, pleasant person to talk to. You know what I mean? It was.
Yeah, I got my ass kicked a few times before that, so I was okay. Yeah.
That's actually part of your reputation, at least among artists I know, is, oh, Tommy Lee is such a fucking cool dude. But you know, this is something we have to sometimes learn a little bit. I almost literally got my ass kicked on the convention floor once for being a dick.
Oh,
you know? Yeah. Saturday afternoon, it would have been spectacular. So,
holy crap!
I had to learn really fast. You know,
one thing that was really difficult is like when my career took off like crazy, and it was like really in a short time where I got from being me to being world famous, and it was like within a year or something. That was really hard for me because I couldn't handle it at all. It was overwhelming, and I tried to be too nice as possible to everyone. And it just overwhelmed me. Like, and then people told me, dude, you have to, you know, you have to put out a little bit of wall, like not being an arrogant asshole, but just, you know, you have to say, okay, man, you have to put a little, when you're on a show or, you know, in public, you have to learn to put a little bit of distance between people and you. Still being approachable, but not too approachable, because it will upset mostly fans, but also it will fuck with your psychology extremely. And that happened to me in the beginning. It was so overwhelming.
Delicate balance, absolutely.
It's really, really difficult. But I'm glad in the art industry, it's like we can be as the people we are, you know. We don't have this. I don't want to be a Hollywood actor.
Right.
It's like
right, exactly.
It's. I mean, I know a few, and they're private. They're so nice, but I also see their pain. They're like, I have all this, but I cannot really go out, or I have to completely hide my real persona. And I'm like, whoa, I couldn't do that. I just want to be me, and I always did that. I always said what I thought. So that's why I was always politically incorrect, and I didn't give a shit, which was good for me, because right now I'm pretty much untouchable when it comes to things like that. Because I established myself as a person that just does what he wants.
Yep. And no harm, no foul either. I mean,
yes.
I don't think you've established a reputation as being, you know, someone that, you know, steps on other people either, right?
I don't do that. I mean, in the last few years, I had a lot of problems, like private. I was like really down, and so I broke promises and stuff, but it was a phase. I apologized for that, and I lived up to that. You know, I own it. But on the other hand, we all just human beings, and as long as you own your mistakes, I think it will be fine. You know.
Yeah, well, we have to be allowed to struggle sometimes. It's
yeah.
You know,
and it's like, you know, it's always the funny thing is like there's so many rumors out there about me, you know. It's really, really funny. I mean, that like I do a few things. I know I use my drugs sometimes. I drink sometimes. I like it, you know. And then come all these stories about like I'm like fucking drinking 2 bottles of whiskey a day and like just coke parties every day, and like now I take coke sometimes and I like to drink sometimes, but you know. But I love these stories. I love like how extreme these rumors are often, you know. I have to laugh. I'm not angry about it. Like a long time ago, I was very angry. I'm like, no, that's not true. What the fuck? Who said that? And now I'm like, yeah, cool. You know, people talk about me. I don't care.
Yeah, you know, I've definitely been through that too, especially when I was younger. And you know what? You can't get too mad at people because,
No.
for example, I dated a junkie poet. You know what I mean? And she was clean most of the time we were together, but she had that stigma, and I was tattooing some rock star types that were all like, you know, walking around with syringes in their headbands and stuff. And so, so of course there are heroin rumors, you know, how can I get mad at people for, you know, and things like that. It's sometimes hard to avoid a certain amount of stigma, but the trick is to just stay consistent. You know, if people see 20, 30 years later, you're still kicking ass, obviously you're not, you know, living in a self-destructive spiral. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Also, like if it would be true that like I'm such an asshole and I'm like so irresponsible and I fuck people over all the time, it would be impossible that I still have a name. It would be impossible that I still have clients or contacts to people like you and other great artists.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't work that way in this industry. It's all about respect.
Yeah. And I have seen people that were competent tattoo artists who had a place in the industry that have kind of gone down that path and screwed over a few people and just disappeared. You never see them again. There is not a place for that, you know?
Yeah. I mean, you have your leeway, you have it, but you know, when you reach that limit and you step a little bit over it, you get a chance, but if you don't step back, you're gone.
Yeah. Yeah,
at least in the top echelons of the tattoo industry. So
yeah, I mean, I think also like once you have a reputation, it's even more like that, you know, because if you make any big mistake, really screw somebody over, and you're in this position of power and responsibility, it looks a lot worse than if you're just, you know, any tattoo artist who hasn't you know, develop this reputation of, you know, telling the world, hey, I am somebody that you should respect and look up to, you know, because once you present yourself that way, you have to live it.
Yes. You always should go down the path, and you have a while to do that, to feel comfortable with yourself, and also that you know you will be able to live up to the expectations.
Yes.
And that's very, very difficult to do. But
well, okay,
you know,
the thing that for us, we tattoo artists, that ultimately unites all of it is the tattooing itself and the art itself, right?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if we have, like, let's say, blown off a client or made them, you know, inconvenience them or something, we can make up for it by saying, hey man, let me give you a free session, I'm really sorry about that, and then you do a killer tattoo on them and it's all good. We always have the tattooing as that's the thing that kind of binds it all together and what gives us our reputation. And so let's hear a little bit about yours. I wanted to start with the first artistic influences, where you were at when you were young that led you down the path to where you're at now.
For me, it's like, you know, I had like also like this huge interview with Chet Sauer, where we were talking about like the dark art influences, and it really started as a kid. I always was drawn to like the darker aspects of life and like the creepy stuff. And I don't know why it is like that, but most dark artists are like that from childhood on. And I always loved, like, from early on, like Giga and horror movies and like kind of more dark music, later on metal, of course. And yeah, it's always the same story. And I know so many dark artists, it's always pretty much the same story, like just maybe from a slightly different angle. And dark art always was so important to me because I see it as such a positive thing. And that's what a lot of people, especially in the art industry, like in the like especially in the gallery industry, which they don't understand yet what dark art actually means. That dark art is something very positive, and it just shows you the world in a way that it actually is. but gives you a way to confront it and see it as it is, and then you can deal with it and be happy, you know. Because I love life. I'm a happy person. I love my fun, my jokes, my girlfriend, all that. I like to be happy, you know, even I do this creepy shit.
Yeah. Well, and you know, that's the thing that I've found with many artists who do the darker stuff. I mean, Chet being another example, you know, that it's not about wallowing in depression all day, you know, that you're making the art so that you don't have to do that.
Exactly. It's therapy. It's therapy. It's kind of therapy.
Yeah, no, yeah, we're looking at some of Chet's stuff right now. He's one of my favorite artists. His
I love Chet. And I love Chet. I met Chet when I met you at the Paradise Tattoo Gathering.
Okay. Yeah.
That was also there, and like Chet and me, we clicked instantly. We didn't know each other. I knew him for a long while, and I was a little bit starstruck. And then it just worked. It was like, okay, that we like two souls meeting, and it's just there, you know. And he's also like, I think he's one of the nicest people on this planet.
Yes. Yeah. And,
he's never angry. He's never. Everybody's cool. Never talk anything bad about anybody. It's just crazy.
So yeah, let's give a shout out to he does a dark art podcast.
Yeah, Dark Art Society podcast.
Yeah, and yeah, he's really well connected, knows a lot of people in the scene, and has done some great in-depth interviews.
He's the one. Yeah.
So back in the apprentice or non-apprenticeship days, whatever you want to call those, in the late 90s, you already had these influences, and you were, I'm assuming, starting to formulate your style, because I think that just naturally happens. You have stuff that you like, and so you're going to steer people that way. What was some of the early work that you did like?
Like my early stuff was pretty much still like rockabilly influenced, you know, and more like into a kind of a comic style, kind of new school style. But already you could see like some made everything a little bit darker, a little bit more sarcastic, and then slowly it just changed. It was such a slow transformation without me even knowing it. I did something. It wasn't really what I wanted to do, but it was actually cool and I liked it. But it always like kind of tended to move in the dark direction. And at one point, then I just said like, you know what, fuck it. I think that is what I want to do. And I started like without compromise. I said, I'm going to do just that. End of story. I didn't even wait to like, I make a lot of money with normal stuff. No, I said like, no, I'm going to do that. That's it. I risk everything. I do that. I fight for that, and that's it. And yeah, that was the big jump. And of course,
how long were you tattooing when you made that jump? Do you remember about what year?
I think it was. Let me think. Around 4 or 5 years, maybe.
Okay.
Yeah, there where the transition began. And
so did you actually go through a period where you were doing a lot less tattooing when you stopped doing the other work, or did you find that there was enough of a demand that you were able to quickly make that switch?
It was of course there was like less work because people still wanted what they knew from me, and so I had to establish the new clientele. And a few friends helped out, and so. But yeah, it was much less work. But I was like, no, that's worth it. You know, I have to do it that way. I think for me personally, it's like, you know, everybody has a personal story with that, and for me it was the only way to do it. For me, it was all or nothing. And again, I was lucky that it worked. It took a while, and also like I had the influences in the industries like yourself, Robert Hernandez, Paul Booth, all these people, Bob Terrell, which showed me that this is like something that people want. You know, you just have to find it and work hard for it. Because before that, I was like, I just do whatever and people will come to me. And then what's the point? It's not that easy. You have to work hard for that. So, and that's what I did. And then then I met more and more people, and I met my idols, and that was crazy. Always, I met my idols. I met the people I admired, which was weird, and they became friends. And this is the most fantastic thing that can happen. So, like that your idols become your peers and friends.
Yeah, the tattoo world is amazing that way.
Yeah, and that's when it starts really to when you especially I loved what Paul Booth was doing, is like this getting rid of the ego with his collaborations in the beginning. You know, getting rid of
leave your ego at the door. That's what he would say.
Exactly. This is wonderful. This is like, you know, especially when you do collaborative art, it's like you go into the art of the other person goes into your part of the art, so it becomes like this nice amalgamation of fantastic art. You know, you kind of see it's something completely new, but you can see who worked on it. But it's like kind of this wonderful hybrid, and this is like what I really love when something like that happens.
Yeah, and I think
you're big into that as well, right? Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, some of the best experiences that I've had as a tattoo artist have been the collaborative things that I've had the honor of being able to do. You know, is these are all really amazing artists, and I always think of myself as a student. You know,
that's the best way to think. It never is over. You never stop learning.
Every time you get a chance to collaborate with somebody, you have a chance to advance yourself a little bit, and you're allowed to tattoo like them for that project, or at least somewhat like them. Mm-hmm. And in doing that, you're going to end up coming to some place in the middle between your two styles that could only exist when you're working with that artist. And when you come out of it and you go back to your own tattooing and you try doing those things, it's still going to look like your work. You know, the things that you learn from working with the other artist, it doesn't look like you're carbon copying their work. It's still going to come out in your hand and look like your style, but it's going to have some extra new thing to it.
Exactly. That's what I saw with me. Is like always when I was with Chet, or when I was with Robert Hernandez or Paul and stuff. They were always you always could see I was just hanging out with them or talking with them about art. I did something with them. You could see the influence in my work afterwards. And as you said, it was never like a rip-off. It was just like kind of a weird hybrid. And I wasn't even really aware of that. I just saw it after, like people pointed out, like, it looks kind of like Chet Sari, or like a little bit Paul Booth, or a little bit like Robert's work, you know? I'm like, oh, yeah, you're right, you know? It just, you know, it kind of flows into your art without you even knowing it.
Right. Well, it's almost like
it teaches a lot.
If you have a long conversation with somebody who's got a strong speech mannerism, you might even pick up a little bit of that for a while. You know, we're very plastic that way. I think that what happens is you might go through a period where you can see strong influences from certain artists, but then the longer you live with that and just do your art, the more it just becomes part of what you do, and then your own style emerges from that, you know. And so when you take in influence from another artist, it still is very strongly filtered into your own style.
Yeah. And what I did lately, like the last few years, is like when I'm going to paint or want to develop something new for myself, I stop looking at other artists for a week. Like just, you know, reset my brain so I have not any influence that is very new.
Right, because by that point, you know, a week away from looking at other art, it's all gone through your own filters.
Yes.
And, you know, and this is one thing that I always recommend is if somebody brings, those eggs are awesome. Fuck. If somebody brings you a tattoo that somebody else did and says, I want something like this. And let's just say it's a really cool piece.
Yeah.
And you want to make something that doesn't look too much like it. So important that you don't look at it while you're drawing. Look at it all you want right up until then, right? Look at it
and then put it away. Yeah.
What do I like about this? You know, oh, I love this cast shadow. Okay, include a cast shadow. I really liked a very strong dark on light top and the light on dark bottom, the way that the shading works. Cool, I'll make sure that I do that. You memorize a few things about it that you're going to make sure you incorporate into your drawing, and then you put it away. And this is a way to kind of force yourself into filtering it, so that it is your art. Another
I do
thing
want
that I wanted
to,
say,
sorry, can I chat about some of the people in the chat room? There's a fair amount of people.
Of course.
So Jane Adler says, much respect. Jane's been around. Daniel Fisher gives the horns. Ryan.
Dan was one of the encyclopedia contributors.
Ryan Mestasis is back in the one of the chat rooms. And then we've got Rod Graybill and Melissa.
Right on. Hey, Rod and Melissa.
Hey, guys.
Oh, actually, we also have a quote here. So Amo1 says, this is about what you were chatting about earlier. Reminds me of a quote of Klaus Kinski. I'm not going to pronounce the German because it would be horrible for me. But she was gracious enough to give a translation. Level only looks like arrogance from below. She gives a little wink. And then Charlie Smith says, so awesome. Keep this coming. Okay.
Yeah. The other thing that I wanted to say before I forgot, we were talking about making that transition into specializing, and I think this is an important thing for us to linger on at least a little bit, because
it's very important for people to know which are kind of don't know what to do.
Right. Because you've already said that it led to a short lean period, but you bounced back and became busy again. So yes, you can expect that. But here's something that you need to do, and I'm sure Tommy did something along these lines when he made that transition. You need to take everything out of your portfolio that you don't want to do more of.
Absolutely.
You need to make it so that people can only see work from you that is an example of the kind of stuff you want to do. That is just nuts, just absolutely nuts.
He was awesome.
Amazing.
He fell asleep while I was tattooing him.
Right. Well, do you use back team?
And he has he has Philip's work on his head and stuff. Like, he's an awesome dude.
Nice. I know we were talking about something, but I just suddenly got distracted.
You were talking about portfolio pieces that you want to do.
Oh, yeah. Because what your portfolio is, I mean, a lot of us, let's just say you've done work in other styles that is a real accomplishment, that looks great. Part of you wants to show it off. But the thing is whatever you have in your portfolio, ultimately that is a catalog of stuff that you are willing to do. That's how the public is going to see it.
Yes.
They look at your portfolio, they're going to see, oh, he does, color portraits. This is a really fucking badass color portrait. Okay, I'm going to get a color portrait from him, But maybe at that point you've decided you don't want to do color portraits anymore. You're just proud of that piece. Well, unfortunately, you're going to have to stop showing it off.
You have to still put it away. That's the thing. It's this is like the weird thing about the art you like yourself a lot. It's also when I'm painting, sometimes you have something and you have a painting and it looks really, really nice, but I need to have this huge contrast here, and I have to go all over that with pretty much nearly black. You have to do it.
Yeah.
For example, like my protege, he was like, I was teaching him something, and he did something really nice, and I was looking at him and I'm like, it has to be a little bit darker on that side, And he did a little bit, but very careful. And I said, give me that thing, And I went over it, was nearly completely black, just made a few adjustments, and it looked so much better. He's like, fuck, I have to learn that. I have to drill myself to do that, to let go sometimes of things you like, to make it even better. Because when you render around, I'm like, it just will not work in the end.
Okay, so hey, Gabe, if you don't mind, scroll back up a little bit, and that piece on the far right, that one. No, the bottom one.
Below.
That below it, yeah. Okay, so, that's on paper. All right, well, let's just say that this piece were on skin. You see that big area of dark down in the middle right. detail is just kind of like fading into solid black. And so like what we were just talking about, when you're looking at especially a large piece that you're maybe doing multiple visits on, and you've got some beautiful detail in an area, but you realize ultimately the piece is going to gain more by strengthening your shadows in certain places, right?
Draw focus, yeah.
And you might end up having to lose some of that detail, and that's okay. Or there might just be some very, very light hint of it left after you're done shading over it and it's healed. But, sometimes you have to let go of things like that when you're considering the big picture, because you're trying to create something that's got, especially when you're talking about large work, that's got strength to it. So here, this drawing, it's got tons of detail, but when you back off, it's still a very clear rhythm of light and dark areas. And that's something.
And that's a weird thing with that one. I remember that one because this was like kind of a texture exercise on a page. Okay. Just fill a page. But I still did it. I just want to do like texture for me, like to loosen up. But I still do that with like bringing things into focus and fading out detail. It's just so in my. It's like part of me how I do it. It's so automatic for me already to do that.
Well, and also, when you're doing these kinds of exercises and you're just challenging yourself with drawings, you want to try to apply all that stuff because you want to build those muscles, right?
Yeah.
And,
the thing, like we talk about that, it's like we talk about it because we came to a point where we just do that. But we both remember the struggle in the beginning. It's like so hard to get into it, to really do it. It's a long way.
Yes.
And I always tell people, I can tell you that, I can tell you how to do that, but you have to keep on it. And one factor nobody can get around is years of experience.
Yes. 10,000 hours.
People can help you to kind of get a little bit faster to the point, but it still takes time. There's no way around. Zero.
Well, okay, so you can shave off some years. But the only way you can do that is by having longer late nights drawing. You still have to put in the hours. You can get your first 10,000 hours in 3 or 4 years.
You have to,
It can take 10 years. It depends on how hard you want to push. And all the best artists that I've known have had, especially like when they were younger, periods of being extremely hungry. And putting in those 16-hour days and just doing whatever it takes because they're totally wanting to immerse themselves and live and breathe tattooing and art, and they're feeling the progress, and so that can be addictive. There comes a point where you want to be doing that. You don't want to be necessarily just like out of the bars every night, but
but it's also very dangerous because I saw a lot of people burning out that way.
You have
to learn to take breaks.
Yes, you can have periods of that. I think it's important to like you were saying, take breaks, just do fun stuff, travel, hang around with other artists.
Even if you would like to, so many people are like, I went there and I went to the beach and like I wanted to go home and draw. I'm like, no, force yourself to relax. You have to learn to relax, like do meditation, whatever it takes to just get away for a while. Don't think about tattooing, don't think about painting or designing, whatever. You need that because we all have our limits, and when you reach the limit and you go over that limit, it can fuck you up so bad. When you have a real bad burnout, you never touch a machine again.
You don't ever want to reach that point. I mean, you can have many burnouts, and you need to recognize when those are happening.
Yes.
And back off a little bit.
Exactly, like step on the brake when you.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of like when you're sitting in your chair working on somebody and you're in an awkward position, and your back is shouting at you and saying, "Hey, man, you have to sit differently, or you're going to get punished." And you're like, "No, I'm just going to tough it out." That's not what you do. When you get the warning sign, you have to listen if you want to have longevity in this career.
Yeah, that's a real bad idea when you do that, because funnily, like I have no problems with my back. The only thing I have is like shortened sinus, shortened tendons on the front, of course, like most tattoo artists, because we always work like that. and a little bit like kind of my lower back muscles a little bit weak, but I have no problems with the back whatsoever, because I really try to, whenever I'm tattooing, in between, just like stand up and stretch through for a while, you know, hold it 10 seconds, wait, continue, and do regular breaks.
Yeah, and good
It's just
posture.
Yeah,
Good
it's not
posture
worth it,
before.
because when you're like 50, 60 and you cannot really walk no more because it doesn't make sense.
Yeah. You know what? The way it should be is, when you're doing a long tattoo session, everything should get tired at once. There shouldn't be one thing that gets tired first. That means you have an ergonomic problem.
Yes. Yeah. Good point.
If you reach a point where, like, okay, I'm starting to lose my focus and my eyes are blurry and my back is starting to get a little stiff and my hands are starting to give me the signs. When you're hearing it all at once, that means your ergonomic situation is pretty much optimized.
Yes.
Right. But if there's one part of you that complains first, you need to fix that. If it's your back, you need a different chair, you need new posture, you need a different armrest, you need to sit your clients differently, maybe a different chair for them. If it's your eyes, you need different glasses, better lighting. If it's your hands or wrists, you might need lighter machines, new grips. You might need to change some of your habits, stretch more, pick up the gallon jug with both hands instead of one. Learn to do your computer mousing with your non-dominant hand.
It's really weird. It's like now we know all that, but when you're young, you're like, oh, fuck it, I'm young.
Yeah. Well,
it's always the same. And then they're like, oh no, my back, my wrist.
I had a crisis with my hands maybe 20 years ago. You know what I mean? And I was like, oh shit, I've been tattooing for 12 years and I'm already having problems with my hands. This can't be good. This tells me my future is bleak, right? I was sort of panicking, but
but it was the coil machines back then.
Well, it was all kinds of things, and I've just tried to stay on top of the ergonomic advancements, so coil machines got lighter. You end up having aircraft aluminum machines, which were aluminum, but they weren't shit. And then better grips. The grips got improved, and you had squishy grips. And then finally, the rotaries at first, they just didn't put it in very well, and it took me a long time to do that. But, and finally, all the way up to the pen machines, where the weight of the machine is actually centered around the needle, which totally makes it
perfect. So I also work with the Sol Nova, and it's like, this is my most favorite machine. Like it can just do anything.
Yeah. You know what though? I've started doing a little bit of lining with a coil machine again. Well, actually, I made a coil machine. A buddy of mine and I have made some coil machines, and they're sweet and lightweight. And I found I can do about 2 hours out of a 6-hour session with one, and it's not detrimental. I don't know if I'm just doing it for fun right now, or if it's going to actually get incorporated into my regular habits, But I do mix lining with coils. Oh yeah, there it is.
Cool.
That's the brass.
Very nice.
We've got an aluminum one also. That is, obviously that's the aluminum one is a little bit more my speed. But yeah, each time I make an ergonomic improvement, I really don't like stepping back. It's a lot, a lot to ask for my hands. But I almost feel like it saves me a little time doing my lining with a coil. But I still, I still pull out the lining needle groups when I'm using the rotary for some of the detail rendering and things like that. So
the thing is, like, I'm mostly using, I'm doing lining too, like, but I use like I use 3 needles. I use a 7-round shader, then mostly a 9-round shader, and a 15 curved mag. That's it.
Okay.
For everything. I don't know. It just, in the beginning I had a lot of needles, and then it just went down. Okay, for some things I just take another needle, maybe, for like certain things, maybe you need sometimes a smaller needle or whatever. But I just got so used to this configuration, and I just can do everything with it. But I'm always searching for new things to incorporate.
It's good to get comfortable with something, because then you can discover what your method is, and you can become more efficient and work more economically.
that's the thing. And then I'm also, it's very, very important that you always try to experiment with new things, especially when you have, like, after you have the 10,000 hours in, and you know what you do, you can start to experiment and really, really find new things, try out new things, because you can be certain that even if it doesn't work out that well, you can still fix it up on the spot, on the go. And that's the most fun part for me. If I cannot like continue learning new stuff and incorporating new stuff, I think that will be the point where I stop tattooing.
Yeah, I still love my job, and you do have to put a little bit of effort into staying on a path that feels like you're moving forward, because I think burnout sets in when it's a tough thing, because we want to find stability and security, right? We find something that we know our clients are going to like. They ask us for these same things over and over again. And it's very easy to say, "Ooh, I better not change it up too much because this is working. And I do it well and people like it and they're paying for it."
Yeah.
So that could be a trap. Because
it can be. The cool thing is, the cool thing is when you can like use your style and incorporate it also in other designs. So that's why I'm always trying to introduce a little bit new things, because I really like anime and stuff. So I put out a little bit of that in my style, and like always like throw in a little bit things so that more people are interested in what I'm doing, and also like I get other people which also want stuff that I actually like also, So it's kind of, it is me, I do my thing, but I also like, there are a little bit more things you can have from me. But that was also very difficult to figure out in the beginning.
Yeah.
Because people just wanted to like, no, I want just that. I'm like, oh, okay. Because you have to go on a little bit, but slowly change that I can like do much more things now, and much more different people are interested in what I'm doing.
I also think that even if our clients are coming to us with a very specific idea, and they might be referencing things we've already done, and say, "I love this piece that you did, last year on the client, and I really love something like that." There's always room to nudge it forward a little bit. And
absolutely.
Often the client will be excited about when you tell them, "Yeah, you know what? I have a perfect idea, because since I did that piece, I learned this thing with shading. I'd love to, kind of bring it up to date with this, new twist on it." And they'll be like, "Oh yeah, I want your new stuff.
Yeah.
I love the idea of this older piece, but I want your new stuff." If you put it to them in a way where you're excited about their idea, and you've got a new thing that you want to try and bring into it, the important thing for the clients is they want to know that you're listening, and that
and we should.
They have a particular thing that they want out of that tattoo, that you've heard them out, and that they're going to get that. But if there's something new that you're excited about doing, that you want to incorporate into it, you can definitely sell them on the idea. If you actually are excited about that idea, how could you not?
Yeah. And that's the thing, that the one thing is what people don't understand sometimes, because you have it so easy, you can do whatever you want. We worked really, really hard and really, really long on that. And so now we have the freedom that people come to us, and when we say like, yeah, we would like to, like, as you just said before, they come with an idea, like, oh, I really like what you did there. And I'm like, okay, yeah, but maybe I would like to give it like a new spin. And they trust you because they like what you do.
Yeah.
And I think we are really privileged that we can do that.
Yep.
Like,
as long as we can let them know that we're hearing them,
Absolutely. And I listen. I always listen. I still do. It's like, because some people always have, this is also weird. Some people come to me and like, would it be okay if I give you some input? I'm like, yeah, please give me input. Give me everything you got. Just draw something by yourself, just an idea, or send me some picture you kind of to describe your idea. And I will, with my knowledge of what I'm doing, will build something out of that, of all these parts. I love to do that,
Well, I think that even the fact that they feel they have to ask that kind of tells us something, that there is a lot
I
of
know,
ego.
it's weird. Yeah.
There's a lot of ego out there, and you know, people have learned to just expect it. And
Yeah. And I try to educate as much people as I can. Also, like right now, when we're doing like you and me, we have an interview, like a conversation going on, that people hear that from people like us. That's no, you talk to us, and we will listen. Most people will.
yeah, yeah. And in fact, I rely on my clients to bring me fresh ideas, and you know,
Yes.
preferably a
Yeah.
curveball every now and then. I would like to be surprised by. Here's the thing: they're going to see things that you could do in your style that you might not think of, right?
Things like that happens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because we can't think of everything, even if it's obvious to them. You know, they might see, you know, somebody else's art, and they'll look at the subject and they'll say, "Fucking A, man! Can you imagine if Tommy Lee did something like this?" Right? And
Yeah.
because they're seeing that fit, they know your work, they see the subject, and they get that lightning bolt, right? And they come to you as a client with that idea, and it's perfect. It's a perfect fit.
I had it quite often actually, and it always blew my mind. I'm like, why didn't I think about that? But the point is, like, we stuck a little bit in the box. It's a huge box, but we still are in the box, kind of. And sometimes you need somebody from the outside to break in and like drop this little information in there, and like, oh, you know,
Right.
That's what's so fascinating. That's what's so exciting about this whole experience.
It's a collaborative thing. It definitely is, and the less you're letting your ego run the show, the easier it is to embrace and see the value of what the client's bringing. And I think that when artists are annoyed by clients that have input, that could very well be an ego thing. You know,
it is an ego thing. It is. There's no talking around it. It is.
Right.
Speaking of clients, should I beam in some of the comments? There's a question or two.
Yeah, please.
Let's hear it.
Okay, so let's see. We've got a couple hellos first. We have Oscar says hello from Guadalajara, Mexico.
Heyo.
Christopher tagged Tim Kern, so hopefully Tim might be watching at some point. And then we've got Kyle says, hi guys, watching from rainy South Africa. Always a pleasure to be here.
Greetings to South Africa.
And then let's see, we've got, maybe this is two questions. I'll just kind of read them all out and I can repeat if I need to. Amo1, who beamed in with the question earlier, or the comment earlier, says, what does Tommy Lee think of his photography skills? Same level as painting? ?
Oh, I suck at photography. I totally suck. I never got really into it, so which maybe I should, but I have so many people around me which make amazing photos, so I just let them do that, you know, especially when it comes to like photography in my art. And also I think it's like I'm doing tattooing, I'm doing creature design, I'm doing painting, and like I think taking up photography would be too much for me. I think it would be just too much.
I think it's important to have, you know, enough competence with a camera to be able to record your work or to you know, create the reference material that we need. But
that's okay. I mean, you can do that, but like when it comes really to making good photography, I can't do that. I just can't. That's why I'm still like with my tattoos. I have like an old like Note 4 from Samsung still, and I tattoo I make a photo of my tattoos with that and load it up directly. So you just see what you get, and that's it.
Nice. And then lastly, Hunter Young is in the chat room and says, what's up, boys? He's
Hunter again. He's always here. He's always here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, anything that you want to say to you know, any final comments before we close this up? Yeah, well, here we are, and you know, we're about to come to the end of 2020. You know, I think 2021 will be just as challenging in its own ways. I think that we probably still have some more shutdowns and things like that. Hopefully it'll only be for part of the year. Yeah, meanwhile, here we are, you know, dealing with this winter. It's going to be a kind of a hard winter for tattooers. And I just think it's important that we reach out to each other. We can collaborate online. We can create online drawing groups and things like that. We're trying to facilitate that through the Reinventing the Tattoo app. But there's lots of ways of doing that. You can do it through Flickr as well. You know, we can stay connected with each other. We can, you know, still enjoy the community aspects of tattooing. Fortunately, we have the technology to make that possible, even though it's not the same being in person. It's better than nothing. It's what we've got for now, and let's make the most of it.
Yeah, I agree completely with Guy. There's not much to add, except again, I just want, you know, people out there, just support each other, you know, as much as you can, you know, so we can go through all that and yeah, stay safe and just, you know, be kind, be considerate, don't fight over bullshit, and yeah.
Life's
and
too
everything
short.
Guy said.
Right on. Hey, Tommy Lee, thank you so much for joining us. This has been great talk.
It was one thing we wanted to talk about still, quick.
Okay.
About maybe like Guy and me doing like a seminar thing.
Yes. I almost was going to pop in, then I'm like, wait, I don't want to necessarily pop. But yes, I think that it would be amazing. I remember the feedback from the Paradise automatic drawing and automatic tattooing seminars, you know, was amazing. And it's like for years still I'll see people and that are amazing, and they tell me, you know, they took your class way back in the day. And so yeah, I just that would be a great thing to like idea seed out there. If people are interested, you guys chat about it.
Yeah, we're going to figure something out. Would be nice. We have the time right now, so
yeah, probably in January. December schedule is really full, which is a beautiful thing.
Yeah, no hurry at all.
We have more drawing groups and things like that. But yeah, in terms of actually doing a seminar, I'm psyched to hear your ideas. And I'm sure there's a lot of people that would love to tune in and be part of it.
Yeah, so we can bring our both things together. I think that would work really well.
Yes, I think that would be a fun collaboration to work on an educational thing together. Let's plan.
Okay, but we'll figure all that out, and I think Gabe will keep everybody updated. And thanks, Gabe, of course, for bringing us together, and also for doing all that so we can see each other all the time. You know, also like the drunk critique and stuff. It's like a nice hangout, and it's just it's kind of like a convention, but just a few thousand miles away, and you talk with each other. And thank you so much, Gabe.
I was going to say any time until you mentioned drunk critique, and that is a very particular time. But that time is the second Tuesdays, and we'll see. I have a little penance to make up for 9 hours. That was epic. Whew.
That was crazy. Yeah, that was definitely crazy. Yes. I was talking with Joe Capabianco yesterday. He brought me on live on Instagram.
Nice.
And we were talking about that, yeah. But anyway,
well,
Guy, thank you so much also.
Thank you.
It was really an honor. It's really an honor because you were also one of my idols and you're my friend now, but it's great. Thank you so much.
And thank you. It's terrific seeing you. And yeah, we'll no doubt cross paths again very soon. And
absolutely.
Thanks to everyone who's tuned in today, and join us tonight when I talk with Russ Abbott, 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Until then,